It's Primus Tracks with Josh, Frankie, and Soya.
What a couple of dumb shits. Hello, Primates! You found Primus Tracks. Congratulations! You can find us all over the place at Primus Tracks on Instagram. PrimusTracksPod@gmail.com is the email address. We also have a phone number, and it's actually just a voicemail box. You can leave a message there. You can text it. It's 337-514-7692, and its official name is the Ask Soya hotline. And that's what we're up to today. We've collected some voicemails and messages, and it's time to ask Soya. So, let's bring these guys on in. Frankie, Soya.
Hey, Josh. Hey, Frankie.
Soya sounds nice and polite today.
My mood changes as soon as I see Frankie's forehead. I'm ready. It means I'm ready.
Yes.
See the screen that we get to see of Frankie's forehead every time we do these things.
Right on.
It is a true delight.
Remember, Josh, I told you my next band's going to be called Frankie's Forehead.
Oh, it's such a great name. I think you got to form that right away. Now, is this going to have a horn section, or what's going to be the lineup?
Me and probably Brian Kehoe and Angeline Saris, and we'll be doing all heavy metal versions of David Bowie songs.
Soya's coming to us from another hotel room, of course. It's funny because the background changes, but it doesn't change that much. And Frankie, of course, the 38th floor of Primus Tracks Towers. How's it looking today there, pal?
Everything is cool, Josh. Hi, Josh. Hi, Tim.
The day has arrived. It's time to ask Soya. After hearing this, if you have a question for Tim Soya, I'll read the number again. 337-514-7692. Leave a voicemail there. Text it. Email us, primustrackspod@gmail.com. We'll do another one of these.
Text us, email, tag
it. It takes a year to get
sell it to the butcher at the store.
I gotta say, Tim Soya, an approachable guy. You can ask him questions, especially from the distance of voicemail. He's not going to rip your head off.
I enjoy giving info I have about the Primus. You know that. So,
oh, yeah.
One of my favorite things on the Wonka tour was when we would go out and do the shoots and find ourselves in a bar. I don't know how we always ended up in a bar before we went back to the gig. It was weird. And having beers with the locals. I loved it when the fans come up to me and ask me questions, and dispel the fallacies or answer the questions, about something they wanted to know that's just not readily available on the interwebs,
Right on.
As best I could. But I love that. I love taking care of the fans, handing out set lists and drumsticks and guitar picks and all that,
Tim helped me verify that my copy of Suck on This was an actual first press.
Right
so
on.
That was one of our first interactions. And
Frankie can attest that night out in front of the Warfield when I was just answering all his Primus sausage questions to the nth, we were both oblivious that some woman was getting accosted across the street, and both our significant ladies, other ladies, were trying to deal with that situation, and we didn't care because we were talking about Primus.
We were immersed.
Fans are more important, man. Primus fans are more important than, girls getting beat up across the street by some thugs.
It just takes you to a different realm, I guess. The outside world melts away when you're having these conversations.
I mean, there's only tens and tens of Primus fans, so when you meet one that really knows what he's talking about and is asking legitimate questions, you got to talk to the guy because he's going to be gone in 10 minutes.
Yeah. An acquaintance of mine who's a TV writer and a very funny man said, and I'll apply something he said to me to that situation. He said, it's like when serial killers meet each other. You have that sense of wonder about one another.
They have a topic that no one else can talk about, and they talk about it, and they engage in a way no one else can engage.
Exactly.
How Frank met up. Yeah. I mean, any ding-dong can come up to me and say, can I get a Les pick? It's like, guitar pick? It's like, go fuck yourself, It's like, you're not a Primus fan.
But if they come up and say, hey, what's up with this red 22 on this record?
Right on. And then all of a sudden, I grab the dude by the arm and pull him out of the way of everybody. Go, let's talk, motherfucker. You know something. All right, you're in. Let's talk.
Yes. Soya actually just sent me a video, Frankie, of somebody yelling, Red 22!
Cool.
And it was from Smokey and the Bandit, of all things.
Awesome.
That begs the question, Smokey and the Bandit being an older film, was that the inspiration for the Red 22?
Yeah, told that story. And, I had never noticed that. I've seen Smokey and the Bandit 500 times, like any of us from the 70s kids would have. And we're very influenced by the amazingness of that movie. I had never noticed that moment. And it's a moment when, all the cops are chasing the truck and Smokey's trying to divert him, whatever. And he's got a CB and he's talking to some girls that are all truckers and ask them to help them with the diversion. Can you girls, we're coming through with our truck and me, and then can you guys get in the way of all the cop cars? And she says, hell yeah, of course I can do that. And so then she tells the dude standing next to her, this is the scene I sent you. And he jumps out of the truck, goes, all right, everybody, we're going to pull a Smoky Red 22. Let's all go. Woohoo, woohoo. And I was like, wait, what? Rewind that. He just said Red 22. Holy shit, dude. So knowing that Les Claypool, of course, is a big Smokey and the Bandit fan, like we all were at our age, I'd have to ask him. I sent him the clip that I sent you today, Josh, and he hasn't responded. He's probably busy today. He'll get back to me, but I'm going to ask him if that's where that came from. That was his inspiration to say Red 22. Because he's like that. He'll find a little dinky little clip in something, and it will mean a lot more to him than...
You got a Red 22 tattoo, Tim.
That's right. On my finger, of course.
Boom. Red 22 is the catalog number of Suck on This, the original Suck on This release. And Soya's told the Red 22 story, I think on our episode with Larry. So you got to go find that Larry Lalonde episode. It's a great one. He reveals the origins of the Red 22 catalog number from the original release of Suck on This. Speaking of Lure, we didn't cover this yet, Frankie. There is a new track out from the Big Old Nasty Get Down, which I believe is the brainchild of a music producer whose name escapes me, and I apologize. But he gets a lot of guys together, and they make these jammy studio tracks. The latest release from the Big Old Nasty Get Down features our pal Lure on guitar, Mike Dillon on vibraphone, Jack Irons on drums, and Norwood Fisher on bass.
Wow.
It's a pretty sweet jam. It's out there. It's on YouTube. Okay. It's on Spotify.
Send me a link, man. That sounds awesome.
I'll send you a link. Yeah, it's a nice tune. I like it. We ready to ask Soya?
I dare you.
We have hyped this enough. I'll tell you what. Anytime I ask Soya a question that is objectionable to him, the worst I get is this. Come on. So, there are no stupid questions, because that's the response you'll get if you ask even a remotely stupid question. Nobody will be hurt.
I'll do my best, man. I'm ready. This is cold answers, man. I wasn't given these questions prior to right now, so we're not live, but this is cold call questions, dude.
Correct. I'm the only person that has heard these so far.
Frankie, I was telling Josh earlier, I'm glad that you didn't get to hear them because you couldn't do your diligence of interwebs outdoing me with your answers.
Exactly. Tim, have you ever heard our episode with Brian Kehoe?
I did listen to the one with Kehoe. I wasn't on that one, but I did listen to it. Yeah.
I love that episode because Josh went through the protocol and he said, if there's any question that makes you uncomfortable, feel free to skip it. And Kehoe said, if I don't like your question, I'll give you a bullshit answer.
Well, this isn't one of those situations because I'm up on the frying pan right now to answer some fans' questions.
Tim Soya's in the frying pan, and that fire is piping hot. So I'm going to play our first voicemail. It's a little long, but there are a bunch of questions in there, Soya. So let's go for it. Question number 1.
Hey, Tim. Charlene calling from Canada with a question for you. Tim, I was discussing Primus and Primus Tracks with a friend of mine just a couple days ago. I had wrapped up all of the Primus Tracks episodes last week on my birthday, actually. And I'm going into somewhat of a withdrawal right now. So I was talking with my friend, like I said, last week, and he was telling me about a live stream that you guys had on the PrimusTracks.com website. I guess Les had some kind of perm going on. It was a Jerry curl kind of perm, really juicy perm. He had a pencil mustache. He was wearing a Hawaiian shirt or something like that. Anyhow, he said that you guys, it might have been a figment of his imagination, but he said that you guys were doing some kind of cover of Tom Sawyer, and it was like, today's Tim Sawyer, he gets eye on you. And I just wanted to run that by you to see if that was a thing, if that actually happened, if this was a figment of my friend. His name is Kenzie. I don't know if he went by Kenzie back then, but he was on the PrimusTracks.com website. I guess you guys had smoked a joint together at some point somewhere. So I hope you guys are having a kick-ass summer so far, and stay cool.
Charlene, thank you for that question. That's actually not a question. You're just asking for some facts, which is fine. Yes, I do remember that broadcast. As we all know, that was done at Ultrasound when the interwebs were just getting going and Prawn Song was upstairs. And that was when Brain just joined the band. And of course, Primus have the love for Rush. And anytime that Les can substitute lyrics of any type with somebody else's name for fun, he'll do it. And my name was obviously thrown in the hat of his grab bag of, if he could put Tim Sawyer in there, he would do it. So yes, they did tease Tom Sawyer a few times, not very often, but when they did, it was always today's Tim Sawyer for sure.
I think what Charlene is referring to is the internet infiltration stream, which I recently watched a portion of, and it's highly entertaining. Especially, and I got to say, Soya, especially in retrospect, 25 years later or whatever, after having all these conversations with you, I'm seeing all these people who I wouldn't have recognized in 98 and all these things in the background, you know? So it's like there was a who's who of that world there.
That was kind of the gist of that moment was, you know, Les was like telling me, hey, get Turk Black to come down. Who else can come down? And we got all our friends. Hot Potato came down, Oscueta, you know, and we kind of made a party of it because it was really unclear what was going to happen on a live stream. It was this really uncharted waters at the time, you know, like what's going to happen? Oh, we're all hanging out and it's live. You know what I mean? It's ding-dongy now to even think that would have been just crazy that you were in this live stream, but it's done and gone. You know, obviously it was recorded, but you know what I mean? These days, it's nothing. But it's the same as when Les would like bring up characters' names. You know, he used to bring up my name as well or my name was, I think, the original name in Toys Go Winding Down when he says CG the Mexican is a friend of mine, right? Which no, I'm sorry, I take that back. CG's the original, but every once in a while we do when we were at shows and they would play that song. He would say, Tim Sawyer is a friend of mine. We'd sit around and watch Evil Dead because I was there watching Evil Dead with those guys, you know, like a couple times. And so it was always me or CG. And then the record got CG because CG lived there with him. You know, he earned it more than I did. Yeah,
he put up with a little bit more, didn't he? In that apartment.
Charlene, the Tom Sawyer reference, it very rarely did they play Tom Sawyer. And if they did it that day and he said Tim Sawyer, of course, I was standing right there, you know?
Yeah, I don't remember if it took place on the internet infiltration video, but it certainly did at some point. And of course, you recall vividly smoking a J with some dude named Kinsey back in 98.
I can't confirm that. I don't know what that's about, but she'd have to give me some more information on that one on her next call because I don't remember that. Dude. I don't smoke much weed, so.
I mean, that could have been Kinsey's imagination too. Like, I smoked a J with Tim Sawyer.
I will confirm, yes. Les does say today's Tim Sawyer now and again on the Tom Sawyer bit.
Yeah, and I want to compliment Charlene's description of Les's hairdo as a juicy perm. I don't know if anybody used that descriptor back in 98, Soya.
I'm going to tell you that is the most incredible description of that perm because we were freaked the fuck out by it. And I don't know if Juicy ever came into the lingo of me and Lur and Brain.
Les described it himself as a public hair transplant.
Yes.
And he said Cheney hated the hairstyle.
You know, Les really went for it on that one. That was a look that he just said, I'm going here, and he went there. We were like, all right, dude.
So that was a unilateral decision without consulting anyone. He just showed up with a perm. That's funny.
He fucking showed up one day with the perm, and Cheney did it to him as well, I believe. Pretty sure Cheney did it one night. I wasn't there. He showed up at rehearsal one day. It was like, whoa, dude. All right.
Those things, from what I understand, I've never had one, but those things last about 6 months.
Way too long. pretty much.
That's the better unit of time. Thank you, Charlene. And it's also, I should make this note, if you're going to ask Soya, be like Charlene and state your name, where you're calling from, so that we can address you by name and give you credit for your great questions. So that's the exemplar. Charlene, you're number one.
So, in New Orleans, 1996, 97, I don't know, not 100% sure. I would love Soya. Brain, first time I saw Primus was at the State House Theater in New Orleans, I think 96, 97. It was the Brown album, and Brain was playing drums, and they were playing My Name is Mud, and he popped the fucking bass drum head. It popped, busted, boom. People ran on stage, changed the fucking drum head, put it back on, picked up right where they were. I just want to know if Soya was there, or if not. I was probably wrong. It was probably not Soya. All right. Much love. Keep doing what you're doing. Love it. Thank you. Soya, thank you. Bye.
It's amazing how things have happened over the years that I don't even recall unless somebody brings it up, you know.
That's a good one.
That's great. Yeah. That would have been 97. Brain joined in 97. So Brown album was done, and we started touring the States first, I believe, was the first thing we did. Is that right? Frankie, did we do Europe first or the States?
It's interesting because when they went to Europe for the Brown album, they were playing some rare tracks that they wouldn't do in the USA. But the tour actually kicked off in Petaluma.
Okay, we did that Phoenix Theater, which is the pictures on the back of the Brown album, actually.
Yes, and then they reached Europe fairly quickly, 4 dates into the tour. Berlin, Loreley, Paris.
Oh, so we did that. That was that summer festival run that we did. And then the Brown album tour, I think we went over, did that, some promo shit stuffs for Shake Hands with Beef. And then we came back and officially started touring in America, right?
Exactly.
This tour that the question has come to is New Orleans. 97 would have been the very first tour of the Brown album in the States. Yes, Brain broke their bass drum head. I don't specifically recall that night, but things like that happened all the time. And the drum tech would have been Jerry Johnson. And because I am also a drum tech, and even in those days was a drum tech, would have likely been standing right there when that happened. And of course, me and Jerry Johnson would jump into action and Indie Pit Crew change that bass drum head together, you know? Yes, I was there, and I did that, yes. I did that with Beck one time. We did that with Beck one time as well on the Midnight Vultures tour. After that bass drum head broke, and a bunch of us ran out there and pulled the kick drum out and changed the head and put it back in, and they continued. It was amazing. It's doable.
So it's possible to run out there, change a kick drum head while the tune is going on. I mean, people are going to see you on stage doing it, but the band doesn't miss a beat.
Well, I mean, obviously, if Les is just doing his diddly diddly get, right, or bass line, if Brain's not playing it, Les can keep doing it, you know, and while we're changing the drum head might have been what he's talking about. Or maybe Les stopped and went and wiped his face and took a sip of water and then came back and we had it fixed by then, you know, because we were that badass, you know.
Do you know your personal record for changing a kick drum head?
No. Like I said, that's one of 2 times it's actually been changed middle set. One time on a Sheryl Crow gig, the kick drum head broke and I was able to cut out snare skin, cut the rim off a snare head and duct tape it around the hole, and the show continued. And that happened in the middle of a song.
Oh, wow.
So dude played the floor tom for about a minute of the song while I had made that all happen.
Holy cow.
Drummer on that one, yeah.
Now, is that's a serviceable fix for the rest of the set? And obviously you fix it afterwards, but that can hold up in the middle of a gig?
In the old days when people just did whatever they had to do in the moment, you would just put tape over the rip, right? Tape the flap broken head back together. And then, of course, it would hold a little bit, but the drum head beater wears through the gaff tape, and then the beater sticks to the gaff tape. So that doesn't work, you know? Then you have another problem to solve again, which I've been through that in the old days, you know, when that happened. In the case of Sheryl Crow bass drum head breaking, if you cut out, say, a snare drum head, a 14-inch round disc of head material and tape around the head over the patch up area, then the beater just hits the plastic of the head taped on there. And you just get through it. And the sound guy knows what's going on, and he can adjust the EQ to try to make it sound like a kick drum as best as he can to get through the gig. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, see,
in the case of Primus, it was like I remember thinking about it now that he's jogged my memory. It's like the head ripped. You couldn't repair it. You know, it was like a 26-inch kick drum head that ripped all the way to the top. Oh. I was like, fuck. And I look at Jerry, and it's like we have, of course, had 2 backup heads or in a case somewhere. We ran and grabbed one and said, Les, hold on 1 second. We're gonna switch this out real quick. And we just did it, you know. You just undo the pedal, pull the drum out, and just rip all the screws off and put the head on, screw it back on, push it back up there, go.
That is indie pit crew stuff right there.
Totally. It's awesome. It's like a rush, man.
And you pointed to something that doesn't occur to me, which is, you know, it breaks, Brain or whoever the drummer is gets your attention, or you see it as the tech, and then you're on the radio, kicks out, and then there's all these, you're getting it fixed to the best of your ability. But like you said, the sound guy knows, so he can EQ it, and everybody else has to adapt one way or another, or they just know what's coming through their inner ear monitors if it's a wonky sound.
Well,
right?
I mean, if it happens at the end of the set, say in the encore, show's over. Whatever, who gives a shit? Kick drum's broken. If it happened, say, My Name is Mud was played 6 songs in of a 12-song set, you know, or something like that. It's like, if there's no kick drum, drummer can't play. Situation like that with Brain, where the kick drum head got broken to the point where the show couldn't go on unless we replaced it. Everybody, hold on a second. We're going to replace this. Can't just hand them another kick drum. You like a guitar, you know, when a guitar string breaks, you know. So it's one of those moments. It's pretty excitingly fun and funny, you know.
I suppose it does test your preparation and mettle too, as a tech, just being ready to pounce in or jump into action.
I mean, obviously, the more I've been a tech, the more you learn how to avoid those situations. You know, you pay attention to everything at all times so that those things don't happen. I'm not saying anybody was not doing a good job, but I mean, you know, maybe Brain didn't want the kick drum head changed ever, and all of a sudden it got to that point and it broke. And me and Jerry might have been like, I told you, dude, we should have changed the head. Like, fuck. You know, it's like, whatever. Just stuff happens, man. Yeah. Shit happens.
I just assume Brain hits so hard and is so damn strong that he was just pounding through it as a matter of course. He just does that.
Well, that happened as well. I mean, that was part of it, you know. That tour specifically was a 26-inch Vista-like kick drum with no padding inside and no hole for air to come out the front head. There was no hole in the front head.
And so there's a lot of pressure inside when you
hit that thing with the kick drum pedal, it was like you were hitting a countertop with your fist, you know, like there was no anything. So the head is very susceptible to breakage if there's any blemish of wear, you know what I mean?
That's good stuff. By the way, this reminds me a bit of, and we didn't talk about it on here. Soya, you were on a podcast last month, and in which you got to talk about life on the road, and it was awesome. And the name of the podcast is Talkin' Blues?
Talkin' Blues, that's it, yes.
I don't normally shill for other podcasts, but Soya was on a podcast called Talkin' Blues recently. It's a great episode, and he was so polite.
I was?
He was on his best behavior. Soya sounded so together. Not that you don't hear.
Talk to my wife about that. She'll differ on your...
We won't broach that topic. We'll just go to the next voicemail.
Okay. Mr. Soya, loyal Primus fan for many years. In Primus Cheesy Home Video, way back in the day, you guys are all walking around, at least I think you were there, somewhere in Europe, and there's some footage of a store sign with the logo that says Primus above the store. I need the backstory on that. please, if you can provide that, that would be excellent. Thank you so much, sir.
Amazingly enough, Josh Bald, the glass sitting in front of you is part of what this guy is talking about.
That's right. As an aside, Frankie, I don't know if you noticed, I've got myself a Primus beer glass here, courtesy of one Tim Soya. This is direct from Belgium.
That's right. So, to answer dude's question, in Belgium there is a brand of beer called Primus, and of course, Primus are going to put that in any video shots of them walking around town anywhere if you see Primus anything. And that, of course, was the first big one that we all encountered over the early days. And yes, it's probably a bar that serves Primus, because like in Europe, a lot of bars are specific to one brand of beer. Like there'll be a Heineken sign over a bar, and you go in there, they got Heineken. That's the beer on tap. You go into a bar that's got a Primus logo atop of it. You go in, they've got like Primus, 3 different flavors of Primus beer. So that's all it is. It's Primus beer.
Oh, I was not aware that was the case in a lot of European countries where they just put the brand of beer that they serve, because it could be Frankie's Bar, but the sign says Heineken or Dusseldorf or whatever.
Which means that's the primary base beer that they serve. You know?
Okay.
It kind of harks back to like Germany is where that kind of started, because in Germany, every region in Germany had their own specific beer that was made in that region or that area or that town, even to be more like microscopic about it. So when you go to, say, Berlin, you get like whatever, Beck's or whatever beer is there. And you go down to Munich and there's Kolsch beer, and there's every township has like some other beer brand. You've never even seen it or heard of it, but every little bar in this little town you're in has got that logo on it. And you go to the next town and they got some other logo for their beer. So it kind of spilled around Europe like that, where, you know, even in Holland and Belgium, like bars are specific to a brand of beer. And Primus the beer would probably buy the sign to hang it out in front of your place, and they would buy the bar taps for you that you didn't have to pay for as long as you put Primus beer on their taps, you know.
Gotcha.
And of course, me being a Primus fan, I included Primus beer to all my friends, and coasters and glasses and all that kind of stuff. You steal it every time, you know, to give your Primus fan.
I do wonder if they write that off as a loss. They're like, yeah, another Primus fan came in here.
Funny, because my band Victims Family got to Europe before Primus did in 1989. We came home with a bunch of Primus coasters and doilies they used to put under the stem glasses so the beer drippings would catch it, you know. And I gave Les a bunch of it. He's just like, man, what the hell? What the fuck? What's Primus? What the hell is this? I'm like, dude, it's like this beer in Belgium. We were freaking out, dude. You know, it's like, dude, here. And then he was stoked, you know. And then, of course, you know, then the cheesy home video comes out and they include some Primus beer in there. Of course.
Yeah. Remember this. I have this image in my head that the caller is referencing. The font is so close to what the band chose for their font. Was it a direct copy? Did they just take it from
the one on
the
your
beer?
glass and in your screenshot right now? Like,
it's right there. It's the same one. So was that a conscious decision by Les?
That I don't know. When they switched to that hard Primus logo that became standard, happened around Frizzle Fry.
Yes.
And I was in full Victims Family mode at that time. So that was a Derek Featherstone moment. He would be able to answer that better than I would.
Thank you for that one. That was a great question. Soya, you're doing well. You're 3 for 3. How's it going? Feeling good?
I hope I'm not, in a conversation when you digress. I hope I'm not digressing too much from these questions. I'm trying to build on my answers on top of what they're asking. So
I prefer to think of these questions as jumping off points. Absolutely.
Okay.
Let's hear our next one.
Hi, my name is Chris. Christopher Soya, years and years ago, back in 1997. I'm sure he won't remember this, but I just thought I'd try. I'd seen Primus a few times, loved them to death. Saw him the night before. We saw him in Vegas, 97. I think it was November, maybe. But anyways, day before I saw him in Mesa, Arizona. Loved it. Next day, we're in Vegas. This is when Limp Bizkit opened up for him. I didn't care to see them at all, so I thought we might run into somebody over there at the Hard Rock. It's pretty small there. we did run into Lair. He was really cool, really nice and everything. It was cool to us. We happened to walk by and see Les and Soya playing dollar poker slots by themselves. I freaked out, kind of walked by from afar and said, Les, man, you rock, bro. He said, thanks, fellas. He got up. I gave my friend like $20 to go buy a camera at the gift shop just so we could take a picture with him somehow, or we were going to ask him. He got up. I ran to a pit box, got a pin, and Les signed my ticket. He was a little, he wasn't too happy with it, but he was really cool about it, nice enough. He and Soya walked away, and it was one of the coolest things that ever happened, but I got to meet Les real fast. Now, Soya, at the time, had a little blog thing on the website. This is back in 97, remember? And Soya wrote up about us saying that he chased off 2 rabid Primus fans at Hard Rock. I think he was talking about us. I don't know if he was. I'm sure he won't remember after all the tours he's been on. Just a quick question, though, because it was a really great show that night. Really a lot of fun at the Hard Rock, the joint at the Hard Rock. But that's it. That's all. Thanks a lot. Primus rules. I mean, they suck. Bye-bye.
Wow. Chris, right? That's
Yep.
amazing. Yes. God damn it. Let me think for 1 sec. I'm collecting all these memories of what he just said. So, yes. Okay. So, Primus played the Hard Rock at the joint with Limp Bizkit. I definitely remember that. And, of course, we went downstairs to have drinks at the round bar down there at the Hard Rock. And I remember Fred Durst was playing roulette or something, blackjack. I can't remember. He was kind of holding court, had a bunch of girls around him. And me and Les were kind of like, they're gambling. Let's go over here. And Les at the time, if he gambled, he would play video poker, right? And I didn't play video poker. I wasn't a big poker guy, but interested, hanging out with him. He's like showing me, that's how you do, dude. Don't go for the sucker card. He was showing me how to play the video pokers. And of course, you're standing there with Les Claypool in a casino in public, and you just finished a show like an hour earlier. Primus fans are around, and so yes. Chris, I don't know if you're the one I chased off or you and your friend were the ones we chased off. I don't normally chase fans off. I normally allow Les to read the room and say, sure, I'll sign your stuff. And it's like, so he'll give me the sign, like, enough. Let's move on, and then we'll move on. But amazing, man. I that's funny that you remember the blog. What was it called? Soya Roadhog or something?
Yeah, Diary of a Roadhog.
Something, yeah. Me and Zolchan got that together. Funny that I mentioned that. But again, remember, Chris, you probably weren't the only dude that approached us, and you might not have been rabid. You might have been very happy to come and get an autograph, and Les did it. Obviously, he's having his downtime after the show, and he's going to be reserved to go, all right, dude, you're bothering me, but I'll sign your stuff because he's that cool. But there could have been some other fans that were not so cool, which is probably where I said I ran off a couple rabid fans that were like crossing the line of getting in our space,
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Was that a pretty common occurrence in the mid-90s?
Half of my day and evenings in public were fending Primus fans off from Les, keeping them at bay or being cool about it, not being a dick, but just making sure people like respect his space,
Yeah.
Primus fans are very can be very intruding on personal space because there's Les,
Yes. Overly enthusiastic is a term I like to use.
Enthusiastic, and Les isn't like a superstar like Bono or like Jimmy Page or you know what I mean? It's like it's Les Claypool. It's like, okay, he's very famous, but he's like doesn't have that star quality to walk down the street and everybody that's driving by sees him and knows who he is,
Mm-hmm.
But when you're around a post-Primus show, all the Primus fans are out there partying and hanging out, and they see him, and they know who he is. So it's easy for them to get over ecstatic,
Yeah.
Really just want to get their one moment to go say hey to the dude. And he understands that. I understand that. But when it happens like 20 times in an hour when you're trying to have a beer and play some video poker with your friends and chill out, it's like it gets to be too much, And even Tim Soya has to step in and say, you need to go away. Thank you.
I remember Les saying over the years too that he would say, "I'm just a normal guy, and this fame thing, to whatever degree I've achieved, it's kind of freaked me out." And of course, I'm paraphrasing, but he definitely doesn't have the air of a guy who knows that people know who he is. He doesn't walk down the street doing the finger guns like Frankie does when he's going to the Primus shows and everybody's going, "Frankie, Primus Tracks, woo!"
The less hand.
Yeah, he gives him this thing.
It's got to be tough being who Les is, where he's on that fine line of if he's anywhere normal, nobody knows who he is. If he's anywhere that has anything to do with Primus, anywhere he goes in that vicinity of the gig or the hotel or the corner store, like people are going to recognize him because they're around looking for him.
He's a recognizable guy too. He's got, striking, unique features.
He's a character that everybody that's a Primus fan wants to get a piece of, a moment with, which is really cool because Les is that dude. Like if you walk up to him in the streets like that, or at the casino machine and you go, "There's Les Claypool." You go, "Hey, hey, hey." He'll give you it'll be Les Claypool, It won't be like, "Dude, leave me the fuck alone. Security guy, get him out of here." So get this guy,
Yeah.
He'll still be a cool dude. And those kids know that. All kids, any fans, whatever you want to call them, will get that one moment, and that's cool. For me, I think that's cool that fans can get that from Les, and he's not a dick and says, "Everybody get away." I got keeping the area roped off so no one can come in.
Oh, sure, right, yeah, the velvet rope and the guy with the earpiece and the sunglasses standing
right
there.
Right on.
Like, who the hell are you? And he just gives you that subtle shake of the head, and you're out.
Don't even try it, dude. And dude that you're looking for is like 20 feet over that way. It's like,
yeah.
One of my favorite stories of anti-stardom is Larry Lalonde, of course, as the most unrecognizable dude in all of Primus. He told me the story. I saw one of the shows when they opened for U2 on Zoo TV tour. Do you guys remember that?
Yep, early 92.
92. Okay, so Primus are staying they're like the opening band, or I think it was Disposable Heroes of Hiphoprisy was the opening band. Then Primus, then U2 was the lineup that I saw. And hanging out with those guys on that moment was hilarious. And Larry Lalonde was telling me about how funny how they would stay at the same hotels as U2, right? And if U2 would have, they wouldn't have, but there would be 300 or 400 people crowded outside their Four Seasons hotel everywhere they stayed, with anybody trying to get to Bono or get to the Edge and, whatever. And Larry said one time he got through the crowd and went out with a skateboard and sunglasses, went skateboarded around, right? I remember where he said they were, but whatever. He's skating around, does whatever, comes back, skateboard up, clicks his board up. And these two dudes come up to him and they're like, hey, dude, you're a skater? You listen to Primus? And he's like, "No, what? Primus? Oh, yeah, I've heard of Primus." They go, "Yeah, dude, check it out. All these people are here for you too, but we just saw Les Claypool right over there. He said hi to us and look, and he signed our thing, He's like, "No way, you met Les Claypool?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, he was right over there. Go that way." He goes, "Oh, fuck, okay, cool." Clicks the skateboard down and skated that way and went in, showed his room key and walked through the crowd and went into the hotel. He was like, dude, the best, man. Larry Lalonde, the most unrecognizable rock star of rock stars, man.
And he played it perfectly. What? Primus?
You have to. I mean, you start going, "Wait, fuck Les Claypool, I'm Larry Lalonde. Who the fuck?" No, you don't do that shit.
No.
You just go, no way. Really? Where was he? Let me go see if I can get his autograph.
Hell yeah. And you know what? The beauty of that, too, is it builds up those two guys that saw Les and made their day because they're like, yeah, we saw him, and then this dude's going to go see him, too.
And we met another Primus fan that might get stoked on our information,
That's right. That's outstanding. He didn't need to run off those guys. That's great. Chris, great question.
Yes, I remember you, Chris. I think.
Next one.
Hey, Soya, calling from Detroit. I don't think there's a Primus fan alive that doesn't want PrimusLive.com to come back. Is there any chance of that happening? Or maybe moving some of the live shows to nugs.net? I think we'd all love to hear it. Later.
I don't think you were around for the Primus Live stuff, right?
I don't even have any idea what that is. I was not involved in it, so I have no hand on getting it started again as well.
So back in '03 and '04, and Frankie can attest to this too, the band had a site, primuslive.com, where you could purchase soundboards of every show from the Fromage Tour and the Hallucinogenetics Tour and so on.
Right after the show.
Yeah, oh, that's right. You could buy it. They would burn it to a
Yes.
CD. They'd burn the soundboard to a CD at the venue right after the show, Soya, and you could buy it
So
on
that
your
was
way
through
out.
2003, 2004, and it carried over for Bucket of Burning Brains.
Yeah, they learned that trick from Dave Matthews, was the first one to do that.
Oh, is that so?
Dave Matthews, and I think Fish was doing it too, and so then Les caught on to it.
Okay.
I was not involved in any of that, so...
Yeah. Well, the deal with that was that people just loved it. Primus fans were going nuts. They loved it, buying those shows and burning them to CD. And I think that extra step, Zoltron was making art for every single show that you could print out and put in the tray liner and cover and all that. It was great stuff.
Cool.
But then the website fell by the wayside as Primus went away for a while after that, and before the Reformation. And it's just been gone for so long. And so I know the hardcore fans are clamoring for it again, but there is a subscription site called nugs.net that catches a lot of bands that'll put their live shows up there.
All right. I want to retract what I said. I think it was Pearl Jam that started that, not Dave Matthews.
Okay. Oh, I remember. Yeah, I remember in the late 90s, Pearl
I
Jam.
had some friends that work for Pearl Jam, and they were telling me about that back in the early 2000s, that Pearl Jam was doing that, burning CDs, and dude would come up with a spindle of the discs, and people waiting would just buy them from the show they just saw.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
So they were doing that, and then they were also putting them into stores too after the tour.
Right. I know Fish did a huge catalog release of live shows, like a series of show releases they did when I was after Oyster, right around the time of Oysterhead in early 2000s. And after that tour, I asked the girl from management, "Hey man, how do I get some of these?" And she sent me like 7 or 8 of them in a box, Oh, wow, cool. Now that was like 7 or 8 of like 40 live shows they released on CD, like with the crazy packaging. I was like, whoa, trippy.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, there's definitely a demand for it in the Primus world too. So if anybody could put anybody could put a word in someone's ear, it's Tim Soya.
I think Frankie needs to come out with the early days series with all his demo tapes he's got.
That would be fantastic, with a little help from Lefkowitz.
Lefkowitz is not tied in with it anymore. What are you talking about? You got to talk to me, dude.
Tim Soya is the true man of power.
Again, in the advent of the interwebs coming out, so many people had so many ideas of stuff that just came and went because it became so obsolete, really quickly with the way the internet like progressed. Like, oh my God, you can go online and listen to a song, and that turns into like, now it's like, it doesn't even matter what's out there. You just hit search on YouTube or Siri or Google and you find it,
the vast majority of new albums are just released straight to streaming anymore anyway. Physical media is taking a back seat. Yeah, burning those CDs of the soundboard from the show was a moment in time. It was just a few years, but it was very innovative at the time.
Obviously, there was a dollar sign in somebody's eyes that said, let's do this and spend the money on the machines to print 5,000 CDs instantly, or, 1,000 or whatever. Who knows how many they would do on a show night, in the span of the show ended and the kids can walk out with a disc in their hand,
Yeah, pretty rad.
I mean, you had to buy a machine to do that. It wasn't just like one dude with his old laptop that burned one CD at a time. You know what I mean? And obviously to buy something like that back then might have cost $30,000-$40,000 to get a 10 disc burner that would burn an hour and a half set in 2 seconds.
Yeah, that's a good point. So there was some outlay, but hopefully the band recouped that and
the artwork.
Profited.
The artwork was pretty notable. As Josh mentioned, everything was designed by Zoltron. But
That's
some
cool.
of the
I'd love to
covers
see-
harked back to posters and stuff from way
I'd love
back.
to see some of that.
Legendary shows.
I completely missed that whole thing. So I would love to see some of that cool Zoltron artwork.
Yeah.
Would be up.
Some photos were also taken by Carla.
Oh, cool. Carla Freestep, right on.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get let's go to our next question. Soya's holding up well.
Hey, Josh, Frankie, and Soya. This is Joe from Alabama. My question is about Tim Alexander's drums. We all are familiar with the pork pie kit and his various Tama kits he's played over the years, but I'm curious what he was playing in the very early days of Primus. And I've also have seen a bunch of footage from the early 90s where he's playing a black kit. I think it was a Yamaha. And I'm just curious if that was like a backline thing or if he was playing that before he had the pork pie kit. And another fun question is, have you had any like weird celebrity encounters at Primus shows? Like you would see someone there and be like, hey, is that XYZ? And I can't believe they're here at a Primus show. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Yes. Okay. So when Tim Alexander joined Primus, he showed up for a tryout. I think it was the second tryout, and I was there. And the kit that he played, that I think is the same kit that is on Stuck on This, actually, is an old Ludwig chopping block wrap. Looks like a chopping block board. Ludwig did that kind of vibe for a while, and he had one of those kits, and I believe we only had it was concert toms. We took all the bottom heads off because he liked the concert tom vibe. And anything that you see of Tim that's not playing pork pie or tama on a TV show or some weird random thing, it's a rental drum kit, because his drum kit is rarely ever shipped around. For a while around the Punch Bowl, we did ship the kit around, but it was always very expensive to send his big giant boxes of stuff around. So Les's amp and Les's stuff gets shipped no matter what. Larry's guitars get shipped no matter what. And a lot of times we'll just bring like cymbals, kick drum pedals, and that's it, and just rent a bunch of stuff for drums because it's just too bulky and expensive to ship around. So with Tim Alexander, any TV show stuff that would say in New York, Saturday Night Live or anything like that would have been a rental kit, black Yamahas or whatever.
Joe from Alabama asking good questions. Now, that second one, I'm really interested in your experience, an unexpected sighting of a well-known person at a Primus show.
It happened every show.
Yeah.
You're always surprised anybody wants to go see Primus that isn't some goofball nerd, I can't remember. I mean, dude, come on. I mean, we're around everybody all the time. There's always people coming out of the woodwork. You would be amazed. They were like, dude, fucking Primus. You're like, what? And be like, Lisa Marie Presley or something. It's like, you're like, oh, you know who Primus is? Oh, right on.
Frank Sinatra. Yeah, exactly.
I would really have to sit here and think about it to try to find an answer to that was really funny, but I can't off the cuff.
All right. We'll get back to Joe in Alabama with a list later. Good question, though. All right. This next one's a little long, but it's got a good question in it.
Hey, Soya, Josh, Frankie, fellow primates. This is Jesse, longtime primate, first-time caller, etc. But my question for Soya is, if you can think back to the Bay Area music scene of the 80s and 90s, what was the vibe amongst the bands specifically around quote-unquote making it and competing with other artists in the scene? Because based on the stories you've told, it sounds like everyone was friends and having a great time playing shows and going to each other's gigs. But did the bands get along well, or were there rivalries or bitterness towards musicians who made it? Hearing of other scenes, throughout music history, it seems like some scenes were very healthy and friendly and people getting along, and others were the opposite, where the bands hated each other and were trying to outdo each other. And even when I was kind of coming up as a musician in the age of late stage capitalism, there seemed to be some bitterness amongst people who were kind of upset they weren't getting the accolades or monetary compensation they thought they deserved.
I'll pause it there because he's asking a lot of questions in a small space there.
Yeah, I mean, that scene started with the heavy metal explosion with Metallica and Megadeth and Exodus and Slayer and all that. Possessed all came up at that moment, and Death Angel. As it exploded and everything kind of blossomed out, and then the Primus moment happened around that type of music, which we would call funk thrash or thrash funk or funk, or we call it Bay Area scene. There were a lot of bands that bonded together, and Les always was the ringleader of trying to help everybody out. You know, like he always had every kind of band playing with him, whether they were nobodies or they were bands that were just as good as Primus or as big as Primus, or even at the same time, there were bands that were just trying to get signed and get big and like chasing it, and they weren't that great. I'm not going to name band names. But there was a camaraderie because the scene exploded so fast and so fun and so great, and everybody was having such a great time. There really was minimal band fighting of like, my band's better than your band. Oh yeah, well my band will sell more tickets at that show next time. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that kind of thing didn't really go on in that moment in the late 80s when Primus started snowballing. But it was interesting to see how many musicians and bands came from out of nowhere and tried to sound like Primus, and like they were just the opening bands, and they never went anywhere or got anywhere, but there was no animosity. It just was, it's standard fare for anywhere. Baloney. If you say, it didn't happen here or there, did it happen in the Bay Area? That happens everywhere all the time. Competition.
Sounds like they were able to compartmentalize to a degree that, we're all trying to make it in the same way, and not all of us are, but hey, we're all pals and we're enjoying the time we have.
And, the fact that Primus was the breadwinner of the whole scene of that spectrum, Les really took everybody under his wing, and everybody open for Primus. Everybody was, offered something from Primus or Les, or you'd come work for us, or hey, you're this, or your band is cool and you broke up, but hey, I know this dude. And Les would hook people up and try to always garner friendships, as opposed to, we're better than you, we're Primus, fuck off. It was never like that, ever.
And that, I think that just speaks to who those guys are too. It's really rewarding actually to see that those relationships have lasted for so long, because Kehoe and Merv are always popping up in different places. Asagueda pops up on Videoplasty and has sang a couple covers with them over the years. So, pretty rad stuff that they're all, still pals even now.
Totally. I mean, you build relationships and you keep them. You don't burn bridges. Les doesn't burn bridges. He's always fixing a bridge that's starting to burn, and making sure that it doesn't burn. He's always that dude that's getting people across that bridge, and always everybody it's all for good,
Yeah.
Yeah. I've worked in the business now up in the huge major levels, and you see weirdness, and there's this weird disassociation of levels of what goes on.
Yeah.
With the band and the record company and the videos and video production and the blah. It's just like it turns into this, what the hell? It's not just bands. And back then, we were just bands playing,
Yeah.
And Primus happened to get signed to Interscope before anybody did in that little scene, And Les didn't say, haha, fuck you all. He said, come on, I'm bringing everybody along if I can. I'll do everything I can to help everybody.
Right. Yeah. That's good business and just being a good dude. That's great.
100%, man. And that's why I love that dude.
Yeah. Great question, Jesse. Thank you, sir. This one's a nice short one.
Mr. Soya. Hey, quick question. Have you ever played drums, or another instrument for that matter, on a Primus track in a studio or live setting? Thanks. Bye.
Studio setting? No. Live setting? Other than me doing the end of My Name is Mud in Santiago, Chile, in 2016, I don't think I've ever played with Primus live ever before.
I don't think I know that story.
You haven't seen that video?
Frankie, have I seen that video?
Yes, the people are going nuts.
Les got the whole crowd to say, Soya, Soya. They went doodle-doodle-gat, and I played that. Cheney is the one who filmed it.
Oh, okay. This rings a bell.
It was the last show I did with Primus as a tech working before I left to go do Roger Waters in 2016.
Oh, very good. Wow. And you played to a rabid crowd.
Santiago, Chile crowd was bonkers. Way more than Mexico City.
Frankie and I give props to the Chilean crowds as much as we can.
Yeah.
Frankie, were you just doing the ET finger? What were you doing? Is that a
Yes.
is that a gesture
It's
I
my
don't
new
know?
nod. It means yes.
Oh. Reese's Pieces. Okay. Okay, I'm glad I interpreted it correctly. That was funny, man.
No, whoa. Hold on. There was another time I did play with Primus. They were playing the Warfield. Jerry Johnson was the drum tech. It was later, too. It was like hallucinogenics era, maybe around that or something. And they were doing Seize the Cheese in its entirety. Did they ever do that?
Tour de Fromage, yep.
Tour de Fromage. Went to the show at the Warfield in San Fran. And in the end, they might have done Whamola Jam or something. I can't remember. And I had to put a rubber mask on, something stupid, and go out and play the toms in the end of something, like Fish On or something. Not Fish On.
Oh, you might have played on Los Bastardos.
Los Bastardos or something. Yeah. And so there were some toms on rack toms, like on a stand, and I had to go out there and play along with all those guys. Okay, so twice. It's happened twice.
Nice. Great question. See, what I like about this is we get to see your memory accessing these moments in real time.
Sometimes Les would play the toms, and Adam Gates would play bass.
That's true. The two
was
shows
Adam was on that tour?
Yes, Adam was in charge of the projections
Oh,
on the weather balloons.
that's right. He was
Credited as Filthy Ape.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff going on there. So, and then Soya made it even cooler at the Warfield. Dang.
Nobody knew it was me. I had a mask on.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, because it was on that tour, I've got the soundboard of it. So I'm going to listen real closely.
You're not going to hear much, dude. I'll tell you that. Drunk Soya hitting a couple of rack toms in front of him with a mask on at the encore end of the night ain't gonna be very standoutable.
It's metal. All right, great question there. Let's hear the next one.
Hey, Soya. My name is TJ Costanza, and I wanted to know where or how and why you picked up playing drums open-handed, meaning having your left hand lead on the hi-hat. I do the same thing, and a local person inspired me to do it that I idolized when I was a child. I just wanted to know how you picked that up. Thanks very much. Looking forward to hearing an answer.
Man, that's an easy one, Josh. Keep those ones coming. Well, the basic fact and reason for that is I am left-handed and right-footed.
Oh, is that so? Wow, so that's natural.
When you play a right-handed drum kit and you're right-handed and right-footed, your right hand crosses over your left hand to hit the hi-hat. You lead with your right hand, and the kick drum goes boom, cut, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're left-handed and left-footed, everything's switched the other way. Left hand is crossed over the right hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So being right-footed, I need to play a right-handed drum kit because my left foot is the hi-hat foot. Okay. I lead the bass drum on my right foot. So to start playing on the downbeat, my left hand is my lead hand. So that doesn't cross. I play cat, right? As opposed to
over it. Got it.
Left hand is open. And the original drummer for Victim's Family played just hi-hats. So he used the hi-hat for hi-hats and the ride cymbal. So he would hit his right hand on the bell of the top ride. The top hi-hat cymbal would be his ride cymbal. So when I started playing and seeing that dude, because I played open-handed, I had a ride cymbal up on the left side above my hi-hat, like Mike Borden from Faith No More is the same.
Mm-hmm.
He's lefty hands, right-footed, plays a right-handed kit. Same thing. I decided I don't need the ride cymbal. I want to adopt what this dude, Devin Vermeer, is doing and use the hi-hat cymbal as my ride cymbal as well, because I'm not crossing over and it's not weird. Devin was able to do it because that's what he did. So it's just out of that's just necessity. Left hand is on the left, right hand is on the right.
By very definition, you're absolutely correct. Okay, so it
That's
was
why
natural motion.
left-handed lead, right foot on the kick. It's got to be a right-handed kit. So open-handed is the way to play. I will follow that up with Mike Borden is not left-handed and right-footed like me. He is right-handed, right-footed, but he liked the feel and the openness of having his hands open playing. So he taught himself to play open-handed.
Oh.
As opposed to I just did it naturally because I was left-handed and right-footed.
Gotcha. You know, I think I've seen Herb play open-handed like that before, too, from time to time.
Nah.
You sure? I mean, I swear when they played Letterman, I swear I saw him playing open, like he had hi-hats on both sides.
Tim did all kinds of crazy stuff with the hi-hats. He used to have 3 sets of hi-hats up above the rack toms at one point.
Oh,
and
man.
He would play with his hand out here, or it would be his hand out here like this. And it looked like he was playing open-handed.
Man, you guys are all crazy. Drummers are nuts.
That's a great question. Thank you for asking. God damn it.
Hey, Tim Soya. This is Anthony Del Preet from Rochester, New York. Tell me and the rest of us patrons, primatrons, listeners, some of the unexpected benefits and kind of cool things that have happened to you for getting linked up with Primus Tracks, because it sounds like some cool, new, unexpected friendships have formed and new memories are being made. And that's a pretty cool thing, I think, as a kind of a whole side benefit to just kind of being a guest in the beginning and, you know, kind of helping us all out really and doing favors for these guys. And now they're your chums and things have moved on. Talk a little bit about what it's meant to you to be part of Primus Tracks. Later days.
Willie Mays. Frankie, what the hell?
I was waiting for you guys to do it.
I'm not allowed to say it. I got shut down in the old days. What are you talking about?
You're the executive producer. You can do whatever you want.
I'm not executive. Nothing. Great question, for sure. Meeting up with Josh and Frankie has been life-changing. When you find Primus friends is amazing. And, you know, you stick with the people that are into the same stuff you're into. And I've had a great time along the way for goddamn sure. You know, me and Josh have become total pals and hanging out a bunch of times now has been great. And I've met Frankie a couple times now and again. It's been awesome. You meet good people, you make good friends, you stick with it, man. I don't know what else to say about that.
Thanks, Soya.
I avoid everybody on the Instagrams and the Facebooks because it gets to be too much. And I'm sorry, fans out there, that I can't sift through it like that, like Josh and Frankie can. But man, I'm stoked to be here to give you guys some information on this goofy band that we all love, you know?
Yeah. Thanks for not mentioning the extra hundreds of thousands of dollars that are in your bank account now.
Man, Josh, that last check for $2 million was amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, I had to give you a little bonus.
The sticker was great. That one sticker you gave me with it, too.
One sticker.
Really topped off that $2 million check. It was great.
You're doing good work around here, Mr. Soya.
Here's a sticker.
Here's a sticker. There you go.
Put it in your water bottle. Don't fill it up at work. Fill it up at home.
Thanks, Soya. Those are kind words. I appreciate that. And Anthony, great question, pal. So we also had an email question, and this came from Torin. Again, he writes, Hey, Soya. In the 90s, I went to several New Year's Eve freakouts, and they were all ragers. I always wondered, though, during those shows, what sort of shenanigans were happening backstage. And he says, to refresh your memory, and of course you remember these, Bob Cock came out on the Harley, driven by Turk Black. Another year, he came down from the ceiling in the UFO, or the aborted UFO, I guess. And there was a costume contest in there somewhere, too. Torrin concludes, sordid and sultry details much appreciated.
As we've all known as we grow and get backstage now and again, when you get back there, there's nothing going on.
Everybody's working, right?
And there's nobody there. People are just standing around doing nothing. Those New Year shows are always Bay Area, as all our friends are there. So sometimes there's partying going on, and sometimes it's funny and fun, and everyone's drinking beers and trying to steal as many beers for free as they can, and not buy the $12 beers out at the concourse. Sordid details about backstage, man. Come on. I mean, you know, all kinds of goofy shit happens. And one thing I can tell you that was funny, one of those nights, Turk Black showed up with a giant blue nitrous tank and a bag of balloons.
Oh, yes.
And we brought that into the dressing room. And if you're uber savvy enough to know about Jay Blakesberg, the photographer. He put out a book called To Defy the Laws of Tradition, I think the book is called. And in there's some pictures. If you sift through, there's a moment where we're all, random pictures, and everyone's got a balloon in their hand, and we're all sitting there. And man, it was like a nitrous party in the backstage with all our friends because it was a local gig. Like if we were in Detroit, there'd be us and our crew and nobody, and two people that we might have known but because it's in the Bay Area. Turk Black shows up and everybody's got they advanced tons more beers and tons more champagne or whatever the hell, and it just turns into a melee till they kick us out of there at 2 a.m. But yes, nitrous balloons backstage on a New Year's was pretty hilarious, man.
And that's right. There are plenty of photos of that evening in that book.
Yeah, me and Turk are in that one for sure.
So if you have that book, pull it out. If you don't have the book, I think it's sold out now, Frankie.
Yes, because Jay found the first 10, and he was offering those on a first come, first served basis, and that's it.
They were gone.
Love that dude. Known that dude forever, man.
Great guy.
And he recently inaugurated his exhibition, which looks superb.
Oh my gosh, yes. I have to look more into that. He deserves it. There you go. New Year's Eve shenanigans. Not as many as you would think.
I mean, other than that, nothing else ever happened backstage, ever.
Not once. We also got a text to 337-514-7692. This person did not leave a name, but asked a great question. They ask, Adam Gates said he got in trouble with Les twice. One of them was the, by the way, Lakers suck incident. And this person says they were at that show. But their question is, did you ever get a stern talking to besides Brain's drum kit on fire and Brain's beer bottle smashed on stage? Any other getting in troubles?
Well, Les is a great boss. Y'all know that. Of course, everybody gets a Les talking to now and again. The only one that will come to my mind when I had to go have lunch with Les by myself and he had to have a talking with me was we were on the Brown tour starting. We went down through LA and we had the afternoon off before we had to get down to the gig, and we went to the DC shoe factory.
Yeah.
Because we were in really good with DC peoples because Lur and Brain were big Danny Wave fans and friends, and we all wore DC this and DC that because it was like, So we get to the factory, and Pam Zamaskianik, my great friend, our great friend, said, you guys just go around, pick out anything you want, and put it on the table. We'll mark it off and put it in a box and whatever. You can have it, That included me. So me, Les, Lur, and Brain got to go walk around, where they're pulling stuff to put in boxes, right? And we just go around and do, okay, cool. These shorts are cool. Oh, yeah, these shorts are cool. That shirt's cool. Take that shirt. Socks. I'll take, a wallet. Yeah. So we all just grabbed a bunch of crap, and then they asked us our shoe sizes, and, we came around and gave us all like 4 boxes of shoes of different styles. And I grabbed a bunch of stuff, and Brain grabbed a shit ton of stuff, and Lur grabbed a bunch of stuff. But Lur didn't grab that much stuff because boxes were showing up to his house every week, DC would just send him stuff. We were basically endorsed by DC, at that moment.
Killer.
All of a sudden, Les is like standing there looking at these boxes on the table that they boxed up all the stuff we grabbed. And like mine was like a box, just like everybody else's. But then there was 2 gigantic boxes. That was what Brain grabbed, right? And Les is like, what the fuck? And Brain's like, dude, that's fucking Soya, man. He fucking took all that shit, dude. I didn't fucking grab anything. Those are his boxes. And I was like, looking at him like, shut up. Like, ha, 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 ha. And Les just like clammed up and like looked at me and looked at Brain and like looked at Pam, and everybody's like, all right, cool. Let's all take our stuff, get on the bus. Next day. So all right, let's go get some lunch. All right. Go to get lunch like it's no big deal. And it was, shit. The talking to. Dude, you're out here with us and you get these benefits, and it's really embarrassing. You try to take advantage of people offering you free stuff, and you have 3 fucking boxes of shit from DC, and Brain didn't get anything, and Lur had a little box, and I grabbed 1 pair of shit. I was just like, motherfucker. I didn't throw Brandon under the bus. I just took it, and it was a talking to. It was like, whatever. Now you did watch out for this shifty fucking brain character, motherfucker. And his 2 giant boxes were his. It wasn't even mine, you know.
Oh, man.
So things like that happen.
Yeah. Well, Brain's a little scamp. He's a prankster.
He's a fucking funny motherfucker. He got away with it. And then, of course, the next day I told him about it. I'm like, you asshole. He's like, he's like, give me the finger. Like, I was like, you're a dick.
That one I hadn't heard before. That's a good one. Because you had told us about getting a bit of a talking to for bringing Turk along on tour, but that ended
right.
wonderfully, and he's in the family now.
You know, usually it's like that. It's like less, for me, checking me on me taking liberties and being a little bit of a obnoxious dork. But, you know, you never get pulled aside and told, quit stealing our gear, you know?
Yeah.
It's like you get fired for that shit.
Yeah, that crosses the line, right?
All of a sudden I got 8 bass amps at my house, you know?
Well, you made it. You ran the gauntlet, so to say, Tim Soya, and you survived all these great questions from all the primates out there.
That was awesome, man.
Just want to say that my favorite anecdote so far, Tim, is the one about Alanis Morissette and the stereo.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah.
Did we talk about that? Did I tell that story?
Yeah.
Yes, I love it.
That was way back, I think, on one of our Punch Bowl episodes. That's a great
That
one.
was the end of the Punch Bowl tour in Paris. Yeah.
Yes, that's a great story. I don't remember what episode. You're going to have to go back and find it yourselves, primates, but it's a good one.
Don't mess with Lur, dude.
Even Lur has limits. He's cool as a cucumber. Well, there you go. You asked Soya and you got your answers. Soya, hopefully we get to do this again. And I will put it out there one more time. PrimusTracksPod@gmail.com is the email address. You can leave a voicemail or text 337-514-7692. That's 337-514-SOYA for the Soya hotline. Primates, thank you all very much. Soya, you're officially out of the frying pan. And you can go, cartoonishly sit in a tub of ice or something and have steam rise up as you cool your buns.
I look like the face in the frying pan on Frizzle Fry right now.
Face-melting fun here on Primus Tracks.
That was awesome, man. I'm saying, bring them on. 100 more. Let's do it. Awesome fun, man. You guys can't shut me up. It's amazing.
It's the best. All right, Frankie, now it's your turn. Later days.
Willie Mays.
There it is.